routines. I used to have very strong opinions about them. I hated them. I found them constraining. I absolutely could not understand how people could just do the same thing every day on and on and on. Though I did not necessarily understand it, I wanted to be that person, to have a routine, to have goals, planners, but I was never able to truly do so. I remember thinking that when I wrote things down on a planner in order to do the next day, I would just end up not doing it. Like, even if I was trying my very best, some unforeseeable event will happen that will stop me from finishing my goals. And that definitely did happen, by the way. It did actually genuinely happen, but I think it was just like self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, though, I am a whole different person and I love routines. I realized that instead of thinking of it as constraining and feeling like it is constraining, I actually think that routine has actually given me even more freedom, and it helped me especially with my creativity. So I wanted to look more into it. What is the link between the two, and is it possible to have something like that's structural, like routine, give you even more creativity? Because I feel like the two don't necessarily co-align, at least in my brain. Before we get into that, welcome back to the Moni. I think I resisted routines because I value freedom. A lot of my life, I realized looking back at it, it is deeply rooted in wanting freedom. I hated constraint so much, and that's why in school I felt so suffocated by everything, like by the strict dress code, the rules. Middle Eastern schooling systems are not for the weak. And I was weak, so it was really bad. Strict, really long hours of tutoring, with little to no breaks, no self-expression, no creativity. It was literally like a prison. And all I wanted to do was break free and run away from it as far as possible. I loved college. I think it's because it gave me a lot of freedom. It gave me that structure, right? But it also was like very freeing. You still had the capacity to do a lot of things that you wanted to do. And I think that the freedom it provided me, I was able to understand that I actually really, really love learning. I thought that having like rigid goals, and especially while going through something extremely rigid like the schooling systems, felt like I was handcuffing myself essentially and not allowing myself the capacity to live in the moment. The issue is, like, whenever I give myself freedom, I don't think I've ever done anything other than like read or watch TV, which is great and all. Okay, I'm not saying that's bad, but I wanted to draw, but I never did. I wanted to paint, but I never did. I wanted to do so many things that I liked, but I never did those things. I was always like, no, kind of don't want to do that right now. I did not realize the value of routines and rituals until 2023. I was freshly graduated, living as freely as I liked, and I was so happy until I wasn't. Things that were happening in Gaza definitely affected me a lot because it re-triggered me, but I also fell into really, really bad depression, and I did nothing all day except read the news and watch anime, and that's it. I did nothing else, okay? And my mental health was literally in the gutter. I would not leave the house. I would not go on walks. I would not meet people. I would not do anything. I just stayed home. And it wasn't until February of 2024 that I really changed. And the reason why is because I learned how to bike. And I did not know how to bike, and I have built this thing up in my head like it's so difficult and something that was impossible to happen. And then I learned it. And after I learned how to bike, I was so happy I got my own bike. I started to bike every day. Not because of anything, just because I liked it. I loved it. I felt like I was a child again, and I was living some of my childhood dreams, which is to learn how to bike. Every day I would get up and I would ride my bike, and it was so therapeutic. And I sort of started that ritual, like every day 4 p.m. I would get up, whatever I was doing, it doesn't matter. I would get up and I would go on my bike for like 20-30 minutes. And it was something that I did every single day, and it refreshed me so much. It made me happy. It made me excited to live again. And that was what taught me that doing something every single day at the same hour can actually genuinely be something that is life altering. And it also gave me something to rely on, right? I knew that at that time I have to do this thing, and it was something that was nice because I knew like something that I could rely on that time. Even if I'm having like a shit day, I'm like, okay, but like I'm gonna go on a bike and I'm gonna feel great afterwards, right? So that's when I really started thinking, like, what else can I do? Like, what else do I want to do that I can do, that I have been like thinking like it's so big in my brain? And then I realized, like, actually it's not that big of a deal. I just need to get up and do it. And one of them was my skincare routine. I've always wanted to have like a proper skincare routine and do it, but I never did, because I just thought, I was like, it's just too much work. It's too constraining to do that every day. And so I started working on that, and I started doing my skincare every single day before going to bed, and I still do that to this day. So slowly over the course of the years, I started to build this routine that is a little bit more elaborate now, but I don't think it's that elaborate. And now that is something I do every single day. And I realized something, that it was not constraining at all. It actually helped me a lot as a person. Like, I used to feel so much anxiety, and I didn't realize that it was anxiety, but I used to feel so much anxiety when I wake up every day and I did not know what to do. Like, the possibilities are endless. There's so many things you could do, and that lack of constraint, right? That lack of structure was really anxiety inducing, because like, what am I gonna do? And then you end up doing nothing, right? It actually helped me a lot, because every day I woke up and I knew there was a set of things that I would do every single day, and these things were always gonna be there for me. Also, what also really helped is, like I said, I knew what I wanted to do, but I knew also like the structure of it. Now, I don't set specific times where I do things, but I have like, okay, when I eat breakfast, then I clean, right? When I do this, then I do that. Exactly. So it's just like a kind of a cascading system, if you will. And so when I do this thing, I do the next thing, and then I do the next thing. And because I have that, I don't feel that nagging feeling in my brain telling me that I need to make time for that certain thing, because I've created the structure, if you will, and it will get to that time eventually. Like, once I'm done with breakfast, I do the dishes. Once I'm done with this, I will do that. Exactly. So on and so forth. And in an article titled "The Secret Benefits of Routine," it won't surprise you, routines also help with stress. Create a set schedule for doing chores, work tasks, meetings, exercises, paying bills, and all the usual things that you need to do. Put those in the schedule. Once it becomes part of your routine, it's easier to accomplish everything, because it becomes a habit. Essentially, for me specifically, because it puts me at ease. Like, okay, I have to do these things, right? I have to do the daily maintenance of my house, because, we can't live in filth. But it used to give me so much anxiety, because I'm like, oh, I have to make so much time for it, and I have to do this and that. But once I put it in the routine and it became part of my routine, it actually made me feel so much better. The nagging feeling kind of dies down, and that anxiety that keeps always nagging in the back of your head, it's like, oh, you gotta do this, it goes away, right? Because you have created time for it, so it's not gonna stay with you. And I think the reason why I stopped doing my hobbies and good habits is because I always used to worry about those things, because I felt like these are the baseline of things that I needed to do, like my basic chores and my basic hygiene, and I felt like I couldn't do anything throughout the day until I finished them. But I would always like procrastinate doing those things, and always like delay them, and take so much time to get up and do the next one and the next one and the next one. So what ends up happening is the day is done, and I haven't done anything except the bare minimum, and I'm always like, oh, but I didn't have time for my hobbies, I didn't have time to draw or write or anything. But also, like, that anxiety that is always playing in your head will stop you from trying to do anything that's creative, because I feel like creativity kind of requires a little bit of a quiet time, if you will, and you cannot do that quiet time if you're always thinking about the things that you have to do and you're anxious about it. Getting rid of the obligations allow you to have the free time for the things that you do want to do, right? It gives you more free time, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. Creativity can thus exist, right? Because of the lack of stress on your mind, you can think more deeply about the world, and you can make connections of things that you probably have not thought of. Actually have the necessary time to make something off of those thoughts and off of those connections that you've made. Now, many creatives actually really love rituals and having routines, and this can look like anything, right? It doesn't have to be anything specific. It can be making your coffee in a very specific way, or at a very specific time, or journaling every day at the same time, the same exact amount. Sounds familiar? Yeah, that's the Morning Pages by Julia Cameron in her book The Artist Way. But that's essentially a routine, and this really genuinely helps you be more creative. Another person that used to rely on routines a lot is the international bestseller Haruki Murakami. He said to the Paris Review, it's insane. Are you guys ready? When I'm in writing mode for a novel, I get up at 4 a.m., work for 5 to 6 hours in the afternoon. I run for 10 kilometers or swim for 1,500 meters, or I do both. Then I read a bit, listen to music. I go to bed at 9 p.m. I keep this routine every day without variation. The repetition itself becomes the most important thing. It is a form of mesmerism. I mesmerize myself to reach a deeper state of mind. That's crazy routine. Okay, that's an insane thing. I'm very sorry for the change of scenery. My phone died and I had to film from my webcam, so I'm sorry for the lower standards. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna continue. Okay, so as I said, the thing about Murakami and what he said at the end is the thing that I actually care about the most, which is that I mesmerize myself to reach a deeper state of mind. When you do a routine, it requires so little thought. During then, you can only reach or truly reach what you can describe as like a Zen moment where you are essentially in a deep state of thinking, and you'll have like a lot of great thoughts during those moments. Like my self-respect video, which received quite a bit of a good amount of views and likes, and it was quite well received. I had those thoughts sort of at like 7 a.m. while making my coffee, right? So like I said earlier, having a lot less anxiety means that your brain has the capacity to think about more things, and because you're not taking a lot of that brain energy and thoughts into thinking of like things that essentially make you anxious, right? You can have a lot of deeper thoughts. The routines feels amazing for our brains because there is a sense of familiarity. The brain is extremely risk averse, so we hate unfamiliar things. Because when you create a routine that you do daily, there is very little risk affiliated because you fall into a sense of familiarity, and essentially you start going into autopilot. Now doing then, you can do the tasks necessary that you want to do that is good for you and it's good for your health, etc., while simultaneously falling into kind of a deeper state of thinking. We can actually contemplate more, which means that you can think about more creative things. I think this was talked about Artist Way. I think she talked about it a little bit, where she said that a lot of great like artists get the idea for their new books from doing those things that you do kind of mindlessly, like showering or while you're doing your dishes, etc. It's something that you do that is you go into autopilot while you're doing, are able to reach a deeper state of thinking where you kind of can drift off and allow your thoughts to take you where you want to go. Now unfortunately we don't really usually do that anymore because we usually just listen to stuff. I do that quite a bit when doing my dishes, but for example during my coffee, like when I'm making my coffee, I am just silent. Like I just allow myself to deeply think, and sometimes nothing comes out, right? But sometimes a lot of good things come out. I was actually reading a bit more about routines and why they're good for us, etc., and I came across this study, and they said something that was not really that relevant, but I really wanted to talk about and read it to you guys. They said, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. This popular expression indicates that apples are good for one's health and highlights the importance of routinely eating them. Often the message individuals take away from an apple a day and keeps the doctor away health advice is to eat more apples. However, perhaps the most important takeaway message is to eat nutritious food regularly. I just like when I was reading the paper, I was like a bit shocked by it. So I've always just thought like an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It means like apples are good for you. And when they said like, no, it's that you need to eat them regularly and you need to eat nutritious food regularly, it needs to be a habit, I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense. But actually the reason why I wanted to use this as a reference and to talk about it a little bit more is another section where they said, importantly, not performing the behaviors one day did not have a lasting effect on the time to forming the habit. This indicates that turning adherence into routine is likely not a dichotomous process. Occasional non-adherence to a behavior will not derail progress made to creating the routine, and perfect adherence does not need to be a goal or expectation for a patient. So yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to put, is that there is no constraint, right? You don't have to do things daily. You just have to do them consistently. Consistency is not perfection, right? So if you miss a few days, that's fine, as long as you do not give up and try to constantly go down that path and try to form a specific routine or a habit even if you don't do them every day, you're still gonna have that benefits. So yeah, I just really like that. So yeah, this is exactly what I mean by having a routine can actually help you be more creative, because you have now more time to yourself, because you're essentially doing all the things that you have to do without the constant struggles, right? You have a lot less anxiety because you know exactly what's gonna happen at what time, etc., etc. So you have a lot less anxiety, you have a lot less to think about from what you have to do, etc. So you essentially offload that pressure off of your brain, and instead you can use that means to think about things that can help you be more creative. So yeah, this creates a lot more space for us to be able to be more creative, and it like gives us the time as well. So yeah, I think that routines can actually be freeing. It can be freeing, it can be a lot less constraining, and it also can be the key to what we need to do in order to be more creative individuals. All right, guys, this is it from me today. I want to hear about you. Like, do you think routines are good, or do you hate routines? Do you guys have a specific rituals or routines that you like to do? Mine are usually like coffee. I like to go out every day on my bike. I've started walking a lot more than biking nowadays, but yeah, I do that as like part of my routine. I have very specific night routine, which I do every single day. I have a very specific morning routine, which I do every single day. But yeah, I do think that they definitely help me stay a lot more attuned to my life and to be a lot less lost, and to help me stay on the course of what I want to do in my life. Even though it's not like that constraining, like I still have a lot of free time to be spontaneous and to try new things and try different things and do things differently, but also still gives me that structure to build essentially the life that I want. Yeah, that's it for me today. I'm sorry this video wasn't as good as, I think like it was like a lot less heavy. Usually I do like a lot more heavy subjects, but the reason why I wanted to do this is because I have been sick. I got sick again. Unfortunately I got sick again, which meant like I had been basically suffering for 2 weeks now. So different illnesses, mind you, but yeah, it meant that I didn't have as much energy to write, and I also I've been having brain fog because I've been sick, and that means that there's a lot less thoughts going through my head. There's like, even reading, I haven't been able to pay attention to my reading as much as I used to, and that means a lot less things to work my brain, a lot less things to think about. And yeah, that means no great videos are not gonna be as good in that time. But I also did not want to stop because I have made this a routine. Yes. And I wanted to keep this a routine. I wanted to keep doing this consistently. So I've decided to, regardless of the fact that I got sick, I wanted to still put out a video. And I thought, hey, you know what? I've been meaning to talk about routines, so let's just do that right now. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, as usual. I will see you guys in the next one, hopefully. Bye bye.